The world watches with bated breath as a young man rises from the heart of Africa, a soldier who now stands as both a symbol of hope and a source of suspicion. Some call him a savior, others whisper dictator. The truth? It depends on who dares to listen closely. The story of Ibrahim Traore begins not in a palace or a parliament, but in the dust of Burkina Faso's villages, where survival itself is a battle. Born in 1988, he grew up at a time when Burkina Faso was caught between poverty, political instability, and the shadows of its colonial past. He was not destined for luxury or comfort. His life, like that of millions of Africans, was shaped by struggle. But unlike many, he carried within him an ambition too heavy for silence. As a young boy, Ibrahim was drawn to history books, fascinated by the struggles of African leaders who rose against colonial powers, leaders who tried to carve a path of independence in a world designed to keep Africa on its knees. He admired Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's legendary revolutionary, whose fiery speeches and radical reforms still echo through Ouagadougou's streets decades after his assassination. Sankara, the man who renamed the country from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, land of upright people, left behind an unfinished dream. To many, Traore now stands as the heir to that dream. But is he truly the reincarnation of Sankara's vision? Or just another soldier wearing the mask of populism? When Traore staged his coup in September 2022, the world was stunned. At only 34 years old, he became the youngest head of state in the world, ousting a leader who himself had come to power through a coup just months before. For some, it was another tragic example of Africa's cycle: guns replacing ballots, military fatigues replacing suits, promises made at the barrel of a rifle. For others, it was the start of something extraordinary, a generation finally refusing to kneel before foreign powers and corrupt elites. Burkina Faso was bleeding. The country was drowning under the weight of jihadist insurgencies that had displaced nearly 2 million people. Villages were burned, children forced into refugee camps, families torn apart. The government, despite receiving aid and support from foreign powers, seemed powerless or unwilling to protect its own citizens. In this chaos, Ibrahim Traore did not speak like the leaders before him. He did not speak of compromise with those who terrorized the people. He spoke of resistance, of standing tall, of reclaiming sovereignty. His words ignited a fire across Africa. Crowds poured into the streets of Ouagadougou, waving Russian flags, burning French symbols and chanting his name. To them, he was not just a leader. He was a warrior who dared to challenge the West, who dared to break the chains of neocolonialism. He expelled French troops, shut down foreign media outlets accused of spreading propaganda, and embraced new alliances with countries like Russia, Mali, and Niger. The international community watches with suspicion. Western powers accuse Traore of turning his nation into a playground for Russian influence. They fear another Cold War scenario, where African nations are torn apart not by their own choices, but by becoming pawns in global rivalries. Traore, however, insists he is not choosing sides between East and West. He is choosing Africa. He argues that Burkina Faso, and by extension Africa, must chart its own course, free from both Western exploitation and Eastern domination. His defiance wins admiration among those who see him as a rare leader unafraid to say no. But history warns us, power is intoxicating. Even the most idealistic leaders can lose their way. Thomas Sankara himself, though beloved, faced criticism for his authoritarian tendencies. Nelson Mandela warned of leaders who rise as liberators only to become oppressors. The line between hero and dictator is razor thin, and it is often time, not words, that reveals which side a leader truly belongs to. So who is Ibrahim Traore? For the mother in a rural village who no longer hears gunshots at night, he is a hero. For the young man waving a Russian flag in Ouagadougou, he is a symbol of defiance. For the opposition journalist silenced or exiled, he is a dictator in the making. For the Western diplomat, he is a threat to the balance of power. For Africa's youth, he is a dream that they too can rise, that they too can break the chains of history. Perhaps the most important question is not whether Traore is a hero or dictator, but whether Africa itself is ready to define leadership on its own terms. For centuries, outsiders have labeled African leaders rebel, tyrant, puppet, savior. What if Africa no longer accepts those labels? What if instead it chooses its own? The future of Ibrahim Traore remains unwritten. His youth gives him time to either carve a new path for Africa or repeat the tragedies of its past. His choices in the coming years, how he governs, how he treats dissent, how he balances security with freedom, will determine whether his name is remembered, alongside Sankara and Mandela, or alongside those who betrayed their people. In the end, history will not remember the speeches or the applause. It will remember whether the hungry were fed, whether the displaced returned home, whether the land of upright people truly stood upright. Ibrahim Traore stands today at the crossroads of destiny, Africa's new hero, or another dictator, and the answer for now lives not in what he has done, but in what he dares to do next.